What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from the altar again, and this time we return to the studio with Magnus Karlsson. It is so great to be able to talk with you. Thanks for coming back on the show.
Hey, thank you very much.
Yeah, it's so great to have you back on the show. The new Free Fall album, Hunt the Flame, is absolutely awesome. Is this just sort of picking up where you left off after the last Free Fall album, We Are the Night, or is this stepping into more new, uncharted territory?
Yeah, you could say that this album is continuing in the same style, maybe a more progressive journey than last time.
Was that sort of like a preconceived vision in a way, or did it just sort of turn out that way?
Uh, I thought because after every Free Fall album I have done, I thought I would never do any. That's the last one, but so now when I was asked to do this, I wanted to do something new and not to repeat it again. And I was very happy with the last one, and I was thinking, how can I do something better? But I don't know. I have to do something different, at least. So I tried to do it a bit more progressive in the riffs and. Some of the riffs, I don't know, but I guess you still can hear it. It's my style.
I love the albums that you've done where you collaborate with different musicians and different singers in a way, sort of. And like with the metal opera with Heart Healer, you collaborated with a lot of different singers who, kind of fell into that sort of symphonic metal category. Where I feel like with Free Fall, it's like very diverse. Like you collaborated with James Durbin for a song, but then you got many other different singers. Depending on who is singing on it, does the music process and the song sort of change in a way in terms of its tone? Do you like adjust it to sort of fit their voice?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot about the singer when I write, and I think this time it was mixed. Sometimes I don't write anything before I know who's going to sing it, but this time I had some ideas, and then I emailed some singers, and then I continued and. Yeah, so when I finish the song, I think about how do they sound when they sing something fast or when they sing something high, or how aggressive are they in their tone and everything, and so it affects me a lot, and it gives me also a lot of inspiration when I think about the singers at the same time when I'm writing.
Do you have any guide in what the lyrics are going to be about too? Do you give them sort of like a topic to sing about, or do you kind of give them the full freedom to write whatever they want with that?
Yeah, usually I write it all. I write lyrics and everything, but this time actually, I think it was Christian and Jake E. They wrote their own lyrics, and also they top line. They wrote some. They had could change the melodies and do their own stuff, but yeah. So I had some ideas, and they understood, and they wrote something in the right style. And yeah, I also had a lyric writer this time for some of the songs, Jane Gold from England, that helped me a lot because, yeah, I wanted to focus more on the music and not so much on the lyrics. I think I wrote 3 lyrics this time.
Um, and for people who haven't heard the full length album yet, I've had the privilege of hearing this album early, but like, do you feel that maybe like the first couple singles that we heard, Far From Home and Hunt the Flame, the title track, is a good representation of what this whole album is going to sound like in a way?
Yeah, maybe. It was very hard for me to choose, and I think it was the record label in the end that chose for me because, um, yeah, I like all the songs, and some of them are, as I said, a bit progressive and. Yeah, but I think it's cool. It was impossible for me to choose something that could represent everything, but I think it's cool with the songs we have out. And I think we're going to release a new single now on Thursday, too,
Oh
with the
wow!
Girish.
Oh, I can't wait for the rest of the world to hear. That's a great track for them to check out. Good choice for singles on there.
Cool. Yeah, he's a great singer. Fantastic. And when I heard him, I really hoped that he wanted to sing. And now I know a lot of musicians is calling him, want him on their projects.
When I also think that this is an important year for Freefall in a way because this does mark 10 years of the self-titled Freefall album. I can't believe it's been 10 years since that came out in 2013. Um, how has the songwriting process sort of changed for that in Freefall over the years from what we would hear on Kingdom of Rock and so on and so forth? Has it always been a similar approach between the first album and now?
Uh, the similarities is that I always want to work with the great singers, and all the albums have a lot of great singers. The first idea on the first Freefall album was that would sing everything and maybe have one or two guest singers, but then I had a long list with singers, and it was just more and more. And then I wanted to do on the first album. I wanted to do something with all the singers that I worked with before. So I think I did that on the first one. I worked with everyone, Russell Allen and Ralph from Primal Fear and everything. And it was, I would say it's a bit more power metal maybe. And then on the second one, it was more hard rock because I have Jolden Turner and some of those kind of singers. So it wasn't that metal, maybe more hard rock. And on the third one, it was more metal again. And I would say it's still on the new one, it's still a lot of metal, but maybe some more progressive elements. And now I didn't sing at all on this one, so my solo project turned out to be, not so much singing. And I sang some backing vocals. That's it on this one.
I don't mind me saying this, but I've always said you're almost kind of some people. I'm not the only one who says this. You're almost like the Dr. Dre of symphonic metal or power metal in a way, because you brought.
Oh, okay.
but
yeah, I always love that kind of metal. So it's not a struggle. I'm just having fun in my studio, and the more I write, the more ideas I get, and if I get to work with great people, I get a lot of inspiration.
Well, you led me perfectly into the next couple questions I actually have for you. For one, it almost seems like every Freefall album does have sort of like its own sort of. It's almost like its own genre in a way. Like I would consider the first one to be like a lot more like a power metal in a way, but then like the Kingdom of Rock is more rock in a way, and now you mentioned with this new one that it is more progressive in a way. Could you see maybe Freefall almost being like an experimental project where maybe you bring in where you almost kind of like make it a different genre each time?
Yeah, I think it's depending on what mood I'm in, and I mean all the other projects that I love to write. I write for Annette Olson and Russell Allen, and I have Ferryman with Ronnie Romero and Primal Fear, and that's fantastic. But then I always know what to do because I know Primal Fear has to sound in a certain way. But on the Freefall albums, I'm totally free. Frontiers, the record label don't tell me what to write. I guess if I would do a country album, they would complain maybe. But I mean, if I'm writing in hard rock and metal and that kind of stuff, I'm totally free to do what I want.
I was gonna suggest that for your next album, really shock the fans and make it a new metal album. So get Fred Durst on a song, Jonathan Davis on a song, make it a new metal compilation.
I will show you. I have the right tools here to make it really good.
Hey, you never know. If you could play a country version of "Rollin'" by Limp Bizkit, that would be pretty hilarious. People's heads would melt.
Yeah.
Being that the first Freefall album consisted a lot of your voice and a lot of your vocals in a way, do you have a different attachment, or does the song resonate with you differently when you're singing on a song versus somebody else singing on a song? Or being that it's still like your own vision, it feels very much the same?
Yeah, that's a good question. I have to say, I was worried in the beginning to write songs for singers that I haven't worked with before, but I mean, I would say 100% they do something great with it, and I never been disappointed. And And I always tell them when they get the song, even if I write everything, the lyrics and everything, I tell them to have fun and feel free and do their own thing, because I think they sing a lot better if they are free and not try to copy my demo vocals, every note. And that works great. I work a lot on my demos, so when I send a demo to a singer, it almost sounds like the real album. Everything sounds, big and fat and with great sound. And I hope that's a good inspiration for them to do something good, because it's not common that I can meet them in the studio. I think on this album I didn't meet anyone in the studio, and because it's, one is from India and America and everywhere, so it's hard to. So I spend a lot of time on my demos to make it fun for everyone. I think if I would be a singer that sang for someone else, I would love to have that great sound when I record.
And you mentioned too that it comes from a very emotional place, your music, and I could tell whether I'm listening to Heart Healer, Free Fall, Primal Fear, I could tell that you're channeling your own emotion into it. But we're all different in a way. Do you feel like maybe the singer has to kind of put himself in your emotional state of mind in a way, or kind of put himself in your shoes in a way, in order to know how to sing melodically over it?
Um, I think when the most of the singers, when I ask them, they say yes, that I want to do it, but I want to hear the song first before I say yes. And I think that helps a lot. So when they hear the song, they can hear this is something I can do great. It's something that fits my style, and I have to say I'm happy when they ask me that, so they don't just say yes, I will do it. I want I want them to like the song. That's so important. And if they like the song, I think it's easy for them to make it great with emotion and understand the vibe and everything.
Yeah.
And then you also have to remember that it's not random singers. It's singers that I really, really like, and I'm thinking a lot about it before I ask them. And I'm thinking a lot about the song. Will this be good for the song? Will this be good for the album? And I spend a lot of time thinking about it and listening to them, listening to all the songs they have recorded the last years. For example, a guy like Jolin Turner, he doesn't sing like he's 25 anymore, but he has a great voice. But I listen to the albums he's done, in the last years, and then I won't go over a certain note or anything. For then he has to do something he's not comfortable to do.
Absolutely right. Like I feel like you have the best of both worlds. But what I'm wondering is, you mentioned it also comes from an emotional place, but like I feel like your music is also in a way like very fantasy oriented as well. I feel like it has this cinematic element where it could almost be like a soundtrack in a way. And I'm just wondering, um, when it comes to getting these sources of inspiration, do these ideas just come out of the blue, or do you almost is inspiration kind of like sought out in a way? Do you almost look for the inspiration, or does it just come to you?
Yeah, I mean, I get inspiration from everything, from the singers, from, as you said, soundtracks. I listen a lot to soundtracks, and actually, if I have some free moments, I'm always trying to do playing around, trying to do Hans Zimmer stuff and all that. So I really love that stuff. But my best ideas, actually, they are when I wake up in the morning and I know I have some hours. I go into my studio and I don't have any ideas, but then I get them. I mean, so and as I said, the more I write, the more ideas I get. It's almost like I'm, everything is a training, and hopefully I'm getting better at it. I don't know.
Yeah, I've started this channel back in 2017, and I don't think a single year has gone by without getting something new from you every time. So I always look forward to see what you're working on next.
Yeah, right now I'm working on oh, the next Anat Olson solo album, and Also, I don't know if you remember, but my old band, Last Tribe, from I think it's 20 years ago, we released something.
Yep.
We're
Yep.
working on something new too.
You just led me
So,
perfectly into the next question. It's like you read my mind
yeah.
because it is with Last Tribe. It is 20 years since the Last Tribe album, The Uncrowned. So I was going to ask what the sort of memory was with the making of that album. In a way, was did you know that that was going to be the Last Tribe album for the foreseeable future?
No, I didn't know really, but Rika, the singer, he has a big studio actually in Sweden, and he's recording Meshuggah and Arch Enemy and those bands, and he's been really busy with that, and yeah, and so I don't know. I had a lot. I started with the Alan Land albums and Starbreaker and that stuff, and then I didn't have time for Last Tribe and Rika either. He had a lot of stuff to do. So, but now we talked and we want to try it again. And he said he hadn't, he didn't sing anything in 20 years. Yeah, he sang on the first. On the first Freefall album, he did a song, yeah.
Yeah.
But that was also 10 years ago. So I'm excited to hear him sing again.
I'm excited to hear that as well. And it'll be good to get another Last Tribe album. Being a multi instrumentalist, and having all these different tools at your disposal, does every form of instrument you play, whether it would be guitar or the banjo, as I got to see, or any instrument or vocals, does it express a different side of yourself in a way? Do you feel like one instrument expresses one side of who you are versus the other?
Good question. I mean, with guitar, I love the sound of a metal guitar, but I have to say I have played for so many years and so many hours. So sometimes it's like my muscle memory is taken over. So then I go to the keyboard instead, and I have to say I suck at keyboard actually. I could never play it live, but it's very good for. Making new melodies that I wouldn't think of on guitar, because on guitar my fingers just moves around without me thinking about it, but on the piano I have to concentrate and come up with something new. So quite often I start the song writing on the piano instead.
And like it's funny you mentioned that too, because like it almost seems like melody, depending on where you hear a melody, what instrument you're hearing it on, even if it's in like the same key, a melody almost resonates with you differently depending on how you listen to it, not just what the melody is too, right?
Yeah, and how, what's the word in English, how you, what you put around the melody. I mean, if I have a great melody but the chords and the drums are a bit strange, no one would like it. So I have to. It's not enough to have the great melody. Everything around it has to be great too.
Yeah.
And so I mean, melodies. Maybe on a song I can put 5 minutes on the melody, but the rest could take 2 weeks to make it great around the melody.
Have you ever thought about doing a live symphony, like, and maybe doing like a retrospective? Because I think like you built up such a great community with these Freefall albums, with the Heart Healer album. Like I feel like it's not just a discography anymore, your work, but it's almost like a community in a way. Have you ever thought about maybe doing like a retrospective concert or maybe compilation album where you kind of revisit all the great projects that you were involved with?
Yeah, actually, we discussed to do it on the record label has a festival. I don't know if they will do it this year, but in Italy, and they said if I wanted to do something and choose singers from different projects and musicians to do a big thing, and maybe they would do a Blu-ray or something. But yeah, let's see. It's a lot of work, and as always, I'm so booked in the studio. So when I get requests of the live stuff and put that together, it's so hard because now I'm booked, until next year, and it's hard for me. It's not just to go out and do a gig. It's a big project and a lot of people involved, and So, but absolutely, I would love to do something more live with everything. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, this is the second time I got to talk to you while you're in your studio, and like before, I'm just wondering what's behind that computer. What are we getting worked on next? So.
Yeah, yeah, it's a lot, and yeah, and I forgot one more, but yeah, I don't know if you heard it. I did last year with the Ginebra with the Christian.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I think you mentioned
Yeah,
that.
it's more hard rock stuff. We also will start on the next album. So, and we all Primal Fear, we are almost done now. We are mixing, and so yeah, this year it's 4 albums actually that we're working on. And
Wow.
I try to take it easy, and but it's so hard to say no when it's something fun.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible. But I say no to a lot of stuff, but I have to be better to say no. But it's really hard when someone asks you, "Do you want to make an album with me?" Yeah, I want.
Hey.
But maybe next year or something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, the results are always worth it. So thank you for continuing.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you for not saying no more.
Yeah.
But thank you so much, everybody. We are here with Magnus Karlsson, the new Free Fall album, Hunt the Flame. Be sure to check that out. This is Alex from Heavy New York.